Those were some unexpected results. I am Dan Kingerski on the Pittsburgh Hockey Now YouTube platform. The Penguins trailed 3-0. And on the ice surface on the other side of this camera, Penguins coach Mike Sullivan pulled Alex Nedeljkovic with 7:24 into the second period. Nedeljkovic was not happy. Takes his stick over his head. Comes right down over the crossbar with everything he had. Sheared the stick. Clean break. Storms off the ice, unbuckling things. Whips the blocker. Slams the bench door. Yells at Mike Sullivan. Presumably yelled at Mike Sullivan. Perhaps it was the entire bench he was yelling at because the team had left Nedeljkovic out to dry. The third goal the Flyers scored, super rookie Matvei Michkov had inexplicably seemed like minutes of time near the Penguins' goal. Now bear in mind, Michkov is 5'8", $100, and yet he had time for two shots, including the second one that he had time to reach back into the crease, turn it over to the backhand, and poke it into the net. Where Ryan Graves and Vincent Desharnais were would be a good question. Why Nedeljkovic got pulled would be a good question. Sullivan did answer it, and you know what? To Mike Sullivan's credit, thick skin. Sullivan after the game said, you know what? It wasn't about Nedeljkovic, it was about trying to spark the team, and make no mistake. For the first 28 minutes of the game, the Penguins were terrible. I mean, disinterested, lifeless, pathetic. And I'm probably being kind with those adjectives. But Nedeljkovic has, I don't know, you want to call it an outburst, a tantrum, a tirade, whatever it was, use your best adjective. It seemed to jumpstart the Penguins. A minute 41 later, Philip Tomasino gets a breakaway goal. Nice backhand deke, by the way, for Tomasino, who has 4 goals in the last 8 games, 6 points overall in those 8 February games. 30 seconds exactly after Tomasino gets the goal, Erik Karlsson scores the first of his 2 goals. Evgeny Malkin scored a pair of pretty goals on, what day is today? Yeah, it's Thursday. Oh, by the way, the Penguins beat the Flyers 5-4 in overtime. I just glossed past that fact, didn't I? Because the Penguins did trail 3-0. And then just everything began to happen. The Penguins looked every bit as bad in the first 28 minutes as they did in the 60 minutes on Tuesday in Philadelphia. I mean, that's saying something. You have to almost try to look as bad as they did in Philly. And it looked like just another whitewash of the Penguins, and you start to wonder, oh geez, is this team going to completely implode and just crater? Well, Alex Nedeljkovic has been credited for most of the season and part of last season as well of being, a scrappy spitfire who rubs off on his team. I don't think he meant to rub off on his team quite the way he did on Thursday, but he did. The Penguins get a couple of quick goals. Their level of play went from 0. I mean, it just is close to hockey 0. I mean, it was a colostomy bag of hockey. To all of a sudden, I mean, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't tight professional hockey. It was loose and it was sloppy, but it was emotionally engaged finally. The Flyers get a power play goal midway through the second period. But again, the Penguins showing emotion. Garnet Hathaway tries to hit Nolachari. Kind of interference. Would have been interference on Hathaway or boarding perhaps, but he kind of missed. Boko Imama on the ice having none of that. As Hathaway turns and skates away, as the play shifts, Imama just leveled him. John Tortorella called it one of the dirtiest hits he's seen in a while. That might be an exaggeration, but I can see where Torts would say that because the puck was nowhere in the neighborhood. If the puck were, in Pittsburgh and Mama hit Hathaway and Squirrel Hill, or Monroeville. Hathaway sprawled to the ice, essentially knocked out. His head hit the ice pretty hard. Serious situation. This is where you separate hockey and humanity, I guess, because for once, the Penguins fought back. For once, it was the Penguins who pushed back physically and said, no, you won't do this. The Penguins have been beaten and bullied and whacked all season long with little to no response. Imama may have went overboard. Okay, Imama did go overboard. But it was the Flyers then who had no response for the Penguins. Flyers get the power play goal, and for everyone who says, oh, just score on the power play, that's how you take care of dirty play, I present to you Thursday night, in which the Flyers did get the power play goal, but it only seemed to make the Penguins matter. The Penguins scored a couple goals to tie it. Erik Karlsson gets another goal. And then Evgeny Malkin with a pair of pretty ones, including the overtime winner. So the takeaways really from Thursday's game. Ryan Shea on the top pairing. At this point, Mike Sullivan is kind of throwing caution and formula to the wind. Shea goes on the top pairing. I mean, Shea is 28 now, but it's only his second year in the NHL. I don't know if you want to call him a young player, but certainly an inexperienced player. Philip Tomasino getting lots of ice time and opportunity. Imama on the ice. He only played 4 minutes and 23 seconds. Referees knocked his major penalty down to a minor after review. I probably would have kept the major penalty, but they watched it. They knocked it down to a minor. But the fact that Imama is in the lineup and on the ice shouldn't be overlooked. The Penguins are getting a lot of giving a lot of ice time to guys in their mid-20s. Not all of it's great. Cody Glass is kind of struggling. He had a rough game on Thursday, especially in the first period. A couple of rough turnovers, back-to-back sequences led to a Flyers goal, and you've got other guys like Anthony Beauvillier and who need to chip in, but they're still being given ice time. There's back-to-back games Saturday and Sunday. I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts you'll see Emil Bemstrom back in the lineup. And quite frankly, I'm going to make another educated guess. You're going to see more young players called up, if not next weekend, immediately after the NHL trade deadline. It's coming. For everybody who's been stomping their feet and holding their breath and pounding their fist and demanding it, the youth movement, ladies and gentlemen, it's on the way. Yes, Erik Karlsson and Evgeny Malkin scored 4 of the 5 Penguins goals on Thursday. But you can see Sullivan loosening the reins, putting more young players in. It's all part of the transition. Make no mistake, the Penguins woke up Thursday morning 9 points and 2 games out of a playoff spot. Their chance to make the playoffs, 0.2%. Yeah, that's as pretty close to zero as you get, right? The transition, the era is shifting. So take it for what it's worth. Enjoy it, don't enjoy it. Get behind your favorite players. You can. I know we're going to hit sort of a Generation X era or next era where there's going to be a lot of players on whom you're split. Some you're going to love, some you're going to hate, and you're going to wonder why this guy doesn't get an opportunity when the other guy did, because there's going to be a lot of middling or formerly mediocre or currently mediocre players getting into the Penguins lineup. Trade deadline, as you see, this is 7 days away. Tick, 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 tick-tock, Clarice. All right, so that is it. The takeaway from Thursday: heart, emotion, physicality. Yeah, that was the Penguins. And lo and behold, it changed the team mid-game. It sparked them, and that's how they won. There's no X's and O's to go over from Thursday. I promise you. I was trying to watch They were terrible. X's and O's wise, it was a wash. But the emotion carried the day. So from PPG Paints Arena, I'm Dan Kingerski. Like, subscribe, and say hi. We'll do it all again on Saturday. Have fun.